some hero points, bro. Let's get some, baby.
Anybody hurt?
Contact!
You do not have the authority to execute a prisoner of war.
He's not a prisoner unless I take him prisoner.
You plan to let him bleed out? He needs a surgeon. We have to take him in. We are representing the United States of America. Who are we? Forget who you are fighting here.
Let them collect their dead. We're human.
Get off of me!
They're coming.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Breeze, Breezeway Productions' The Breeze, where we bring you the latest in independent films and film festival news. And we have with us today producer, director, writer Jack Fessenden to talk about his film Foxhole. How are you, Jack?
I'm good, Alex. How's it going?
Not bad, not bad.
Thanks for having me.
For sure. Happy to have you on the show and talk about the film. So tell our audiences a little bit about Foxhole.
Yeah, so Foxhole is a 3-part war drama, centers around the same 5 characters, but transplants them into 3 different time periods, starting in the American Civil War, and then moving to World War I in a bombshell hole, and then ending in a Humvee in Iraq that's been hit by an IED. And so it follows the social dynamics between the group and how they change. There's a black soldier at the center of the story, and we watch him he becomes the commanding officer in Iraq, and there's also a female soldier that is introduced in the Iraq segment. So I was very interested in tracking the social change and what's changed and what hasn't about the American conversation in this very contained wartime environment.
Sure. You were talking about a lot of different periods of war. What was your attraction to war since you were the writer of this? Do you have a family history of people that have served, or what came into the script that helped you create this project?
Yeah, so my this story is inspired by the true story that I heard from my mom shortly after her dad passed away, my grandfather. This was in 2014, so I was about 14 years old. And he told the story of his friend who served in World War II alongside him, and his friend was sheltering in a foxhole in Battle of the Bulge, and a German soldier jumped in, and so this German soldier and the American soldier, instead of drawing their weapons, they ended up talking throughout the night and sheltering in this hole together. The German spoke perfect English, and they had a lot in common. And so at dawn, the 2 men parted ways, as the story goes. And then many years later in the United States, back home in, I think, upstate New York, Morton, the American soldier, is in his hometown in a convenience store, and he feels there's like this guy following him. And he turns around to confront him, and it's the German.
Oh, wow.
And he's all dressed up in a suit, and he looks at him and he says, "Do you remember me?" And Morton says, "Of course." And they remain friends for the rest of their lives. And so that story seemed kind of too good to be true. It seemed like I had to tell that, and I had to make that into a movie. And ironically, it feels like the least likely thing that is in Foxhole, and it's the only part that's actually true. And so that was the seed for the story. And then, I was quite young. I was 14. So at that time, I was doing other things. I was making some short films, and then I eventually made another feature when I was 15 and 16 called Stray Bullets. And then when that was done, it came time to make another feature. Of course, that was the natural progression. And so I thought of Foxhole, this story I had, but it wasn't long enough for a feature. So I decided I could expand it into 3 parts. I thought, what if I told this in three different time periods, sort of like the same type of story, like the otherness, but like also the connection, and eventually it expanded into an ensemble cast, and it became less of an anthology idea and more of a continuous story.
Did you tackle this like 3 different shorts that you combined together to make the feature? If there's different time periods for each of them, like you took a different era for each of them and shot the segments and then put them together to make it the feature?
No, it was never that. It was always trying to be more cohesive, and the original outline, let's say, like the document that was not the script yet, with no dialogue, it reflected the progression between the wars and the feelings that I wanted to modulate and sort of rise up. The tension should feel continuous throughout,
Yeah.
and not super insular to each part. And my aim was to have each story be somewhat unfinished feeling when you were thrust into the next one, because of course nothing is ever quite tied up in a bow that way, and I wanted you to have that sort of suspended feeling of tension that carried you into the next one.
Okay.
And so, yeah, it was never 3 short films spliced together for me. We did shoot it in order, so we got to fully immerse ourselves in one war at a time, which was the only way to do it because of the production design. We
Yeah,
shot
you
it all
gotta
in
pace
one.
yourself.
Yeah, we
With
shot it
each
all
war.
in one hole in our
Yeah.
front yard in upstate New York with a huge tent over it, because I figured the only way to shoot outside realistically was to have a big tent that contained our lights, our equipment, kept the rain out. We in the Civil War, there's that thick fog that we would pump into the tent and try to get to look right.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that was the idea. And over the weekends, the art department would shift the set into the next time period. So we had only 5 days per war, basically. And then for the last one, we just parked the Humvee in the tent and blasted light through it, and there was the hole from the last week.
Was it difficult for you to get each of the era appropriate gear and wardrobe and things like that, since you're going from era to era to era?
Yeah, the gear, that stuff was very important to me to get right. Since we had a small budget and we couldn't do big, action sequences, it was all the production value was going to come from these details and how authentic they felt. And it was very important to me to get that right. So we found this guy in upstate New York named Chris Ingvartson, who's like he's a war nut, but he's also a movie producer and an action movie director and star from the 80s. So he's like this kind of amazing guy to have found to produce this movie with us. So he
Yeah.
found us a period accurate 2003 Humvee, the ones before they were up armored, still left over from the Gulf Wars. So we got that right.
Mhm.
We got just the right kind of Kevlar that the Marines wore in the first push, which has this certain kind of collar. And all the guns were blank firing, and they were correct to spec. Um, and as well as all the previous wars, all that stuff was, some of it was even like reenactment quality, like very high quality type stuff that we had sourced.
I feel like every film has that guy or that girl that always
Yeah,
brings something that you're looking for to the set. And it's just that one person who's like, yeah, I'm your guy for all of this stuff. And then he
yeah,
really brings it
yeah.
in.
We really needed to put together a small team where each person was serving a huge purpose to the project, and that was, yeah. Chris was a great example of, we couldn't have made the movie without him.
Oh, I'm also happy to hear that this was a New York project because we're based in New York as well. Shout out to upstate New York. What
Yeah.
locations did you use? Was this Albany or Adirondacks? Above that, where'd you shoot?
This was lower down. This was just near Woodstock, New York, right in Ulster County.
I was just there like 2 weekends ago. That's
Yeah,
wild.
yeah. So
Nice.
yeah, that it was just in a field there. Yeah, that's the whole movie. And then we flew out for one day in the Mojave Desert for the end when they bust out of the Humvee. That's not New York, but
Right.
my producer wishes it was a gravel pit nearby, but we had to go out to LA for that one.
You had to do what you had to do to make the movie. You found the desert out there, so
Yeah.
you put the project together, and the trailer looked great. I really enjoyed watching that and then learning more about it. So, for our audience, where can people go to check out more about this film, like a website, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, things like
Yeah, well,
that?
we have foxholemovie.com. But we also, I encourage you to go see the movie. It's still in theaters in New York. It's at the IFC Center
Oh, nice.
for another few days, and then it's at the Laemmle Glendale in LA. And if you happen to be in Dayton, Ohio, it's playing at the Neon. It got carried over from a special screening there because they liked it.
Nice.
And it's also on Apple TV and Vudu, and it'll be coming to more streaming services soon. So yeah, I don't have
cool.
I don't have an Instagram for the movie. Maybe
It's
I
all
should
no,
put
it's
that.
all good. Hey, listen, take the distribution deal, the Instagram.
Yeah.
That's fine. Obviously, if you can go to the movies and check it out. So check out those local theaters to make sure you see Foxhole. And Jack Fessenden, thank you for coming on the show, a director and writer of the film. Always happy to talk and support independent films.
Thank you so much, Alex. Really good to talk to you.